peace, love, unity. Listen, folks, I am a nationalized citizen, okay? You could hear it in my accent, proud accent, okay? Proud to be an American. I've been here I'm 18. I'll be 55 this year. I've been here a while. I had to take the citizenship test to be an American. I think that is foolhardy because 65% of the people who are born here cannot pass the citizenship test. You need to be engaged to call yourself an American. So we are so American that we stick the middle finger to the world all these years and saying we are number one. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the United States is in serious trouble. The BRICS nations is going to give us a wake-up check. We should have been more humble. None of you knows how these things work. Henry Kissinger concocted a scheme with the Arabs to sell one of the most traded commodities in the world with American dollars only. Okay? And instead of we be gracious because that happened, all we did is we use our hubris and stick our middle finger up to the rest of the world and tell them that that means we are number one. Well, they're going to change that soon. I'm not happy about it. Many of our pensions would be in trouble. Okay? The Chinese are already selling off whatever death or collecting on their death. This is really sad. But let's get back to the core and the hypocrisy that is this country. So this is the same country that says, and I know because I had to know how to maneuver in this system. You see, this brother liked to read, I like knowledge. First of all, I fear God first. That's the beginning of knowledge. That's what he says. I like knowledge. And we will get in the preamble and says that all men are created equally. Yet we have slavery as an institution. We would tell our children that Lincoln freed the slaves, and that's what's the biggest lie, that all of that is woke, according to you stupid Republicans. All of that is woke ideology. Lincoln says the slaves in the rebel territory. So he was trying to cause a rebellion among the black people in order to allow the Union to be more successful. So the ones that weren't in the rebel territory, oh yes, you could be slaves. As black people in this country, we're not going to have nothing because we are the true Israelites. Whether you want to believe it or not, that's your problem. The book says so. The book says they're taking up crafty counsel against your hidden ones. Remember, the book calls God's people the hidden ones, okay? So look at all the institutions. It's crafty counsel. They stopped us from voting. One of the key components, black people are 13%. Well, we used to be 12. In over 400 years, we only grew 1%. Imagine that. Hispanics has passed us as the other group. Believe it or not, the United States is still lily white, or whoever want to identify as white, but this is just the reality. So out of this 13%, when you do the numbers, we represent at least 45% of the prison population. Okay? 45%. When you do the numbers, when you extrapolate the numbers. They are locking people up just because they like smoking weed. When the crack epidemic hit, it's either you die or you get locked up. Fast forward to today, the opioid epidemic mostly attacks middle and upper middle class white people. Now they want to make it seem like it's a health issue. You guys are fooling yourself. You see, this brother knows the difference between acceptance and tolerance. Okay? The Constitution is a document of tolerance, and we had to write our rights in there using an ink pen filled with blood and tears. 40 acres on a mule. That would have been a nice gesture. It went away. Rosewood, Oklahoma, and other places. You didn't want black people. They went off and had their own. Burnt to the ground. Ashes. And you, with your racist party, will sit up there and talk about what's wrong with black people. Do your history. Do you know the millions and millions of acres that was ripped out of the hands of black people? Okay? Ripped out. Because of racism. So, you come home one day and see grandpa hanging from a tree, man, and a note left on your door. If you don't leave, you're next. Or land taken away with the sleight of hands by the government because you're black. All of this is generational wealth that was ripped out of the hands of black people. This is what the book says. You're going to have fields and you're going to plant grapes and it's going to be ravaged by insects or marauders. This is a metaphor. So everything we plant, it cannot grow because they take up crafty counsel against us. There's just two criteria to vote in this country. 18 and a citizen. Yet, we turn it into this kind of, what they're providing now is poll tax. They're making a voter's ID problematic. Okay, you want to have a voter's ID, provide the necessary tools to people to satisfy your rules, man. But no, to defranchise people like me, you will make it a big deal. And all it is just you need to be a citizen and you need to be 18. I listened to Ben Shapiro, that fast-talking jackass, because that's what he is. In my country, yeah, you could be educated, but you say nonsensical things. We call you an educated jackass. That's what Ben is, okay? So a question came up about the black diaspora, and because he wants to score points to his people, he says, well, look at my people. Look what happened to us in World War II. What's wrong with your people? Now, everybody knows. That's no comparison. So if Einstein was unfortunate to get into these death camps, would E equal MC squared change when he came out of the death camps? This is the silliness that goes on in this country. We weren't able to read and write at one time. You get lashes for it. Okay? So those people in the death camp he's referring to, some were doctors, lawyers, educators. Yeah, the death and destruction they saw, many probably would have lose their minds, but the education value hasn't gone anywhere. Okay? So to make a comparison like that is asinine and insensitive. So The so-called Jew, I would have to say that because I know the truth. Not everybody is a Jew. A Jew is somebody out of the tribe of Yehuda. Okay, we got 11 other tribes, but people generalize that, calling everybody Jew. Anyhow, you got the Rabbi Heshab, and a lot of Jewish people gave money to the civil rights because they didn't want to be exposed. Okay, the civil rights had to be funded. Some of them were on the front line and they died. Admirable. But when those documents were signed, okay, and it becomes, a crime to discriminate and all this stuff. When those documents, before the ink was dried, exit stage left the coalition. And that is when the civil rights movement should have started, because these people had the necessary connections, the necessary education. It was to educate black people and make them become part of this great country. No, nobody wants to be black. Everybody wants to be associated with us when it was convenient for them. Okay? So you sit around and listen to these people with their foolishness, man. Now, being a brother that was educated abroad, I was taught to think outside the box. Okay? So, for me to sit here and blame the man for this and that, we know what the racist is about. We know what those that are taking crafty counsel against us is about. You know what we could do about it? Over $1 trillion leave the black community, flies away, very little come back. You got the Oprah Winfrey's, the Michael Jordans, the Jay-Z's, did this one. All these people, the Jay-Z, he went and buy a vineyard in where? Italy? Wherever he is. Selling poison to black people. This freaking idiot. Do you know how the federal monetary system work? Where does JP Morgan, Chase, and all these people get their money from? That's our freaking money. The banks are distribution houses. They go and they ask the federal government for an interest-free loan. The federal government say, fine, go distribute the money, because they want us to have debt. JP Morgan and the others, they distribute the money at whatever lending rate they set forth. The feds are governed by bankers. So they set forth these rates to lend our money to us. And then, on top of that, if you don't live in a certain zip code, you get turned down, discriminated, and whatever. And I often wonder, okay, why is it the Oprah Winfrey's, all of these multi-millionaires, billionaires, who are minorities, can't get together and form our own lending institutions so that we could lift not just black people, but poor people out of poverty. Although black people cannot be racist, that's not the definition. We could be prejudiced. So I am not for none of those, man. So I would say we're going to have a banks that lend to black people only. That is asinine to do that. The problem is that we lack vision. Something is wrong with us. We are cursed. It's easy for you guys to get together and get your own lending. Why don't we have black car dealerships, man? We drive cars too. What happened to black car dealerships? We have very little lending institutions that are noteworthy, that are black. Why is that, with all of these idiots running around, putting their names on liquor bottles and all this bullshit and selling poison to our community, like our community need to be poisoned anymore? Jay-Z would sit up on Park Avenue and his freaking neighborhood he comes from would be mowed down and gentrified. He would never put investment in there. We are some sad, hopeless people. I know prophecy has to be fulfilled, but that doesn't mean that we can't try. I don't know what it is we can't work together. Is it the curses, man? How easy it is for these people to put their millions and billions together and go to the feds and say, okay, we have this bank, we need such and such loans. Disseminate the money to deserving people in the communities, to start houses, to buy houses, start little businesses. Do things like that at a rate that is sustainable. What's wrong with that? What I see is annoying, distressing. You know what? This is the reason why we ain't growing as a society. Stress is one of the biggest killers there is, man. Every time you turn around, and it mostly comes from these Republican-led states and whatever, we always dominate the legislative body. All the laws that's been enacted to hog tie us, to hamper us. DI is the new N-word. What's wrong with diversity? These freaking idiots talking about welfare. Their families benefited from welfare. The federal government gave them land, moved west, gave them tools, gave them seeds, gave them protection. And today, they're looking down on black people. When Lincoln so-called abolished slavery, which he didn't, but he was afraid of the slaveholders. Back then, up to $300 per slave was given as restitution. Isn't that welfare? So you got these same people. Let's take the Campamachi. They locked up the Japanese for 3 years. After 3 years, they let them out, and in Reagan's days, they apologized and give them restitution. In 2007, I think, Congress finally passed an official apology for slavery. But you know what? There was a disclaimer in the bottom. This cannot be used for restitution. The Jews of World War II, they worked in German factories. They sued for restitution. Did you think they denied them? Ladies and gentlemen, you guys are fools, man. Thank God that most of the black people in this country are not Republicans, because we could see what this is not Lincoln's party, okay? It's not Lincoln's party. After LBJ signed that civil rights document, the racist Dixiecrats, racist Democrats invaded the Republican Party, commandeered it, took it over, infused it with their racist ideas, and this is what we have today. Thank God the percentage of black people voting for these clowns is so low. The reason why Republicans win is because of political welfare. It's called gerrymandering and the Electoral College. That's why they could marginalize us and get away with it. Because they could gerrymander their zones, and they could use the Electoral College to be president. No other country in the world does that. Everybody's on the popular vote. The Republicans rarely win the popular vote. They are a permanent minority with power in this country. The problem is, though, I said it and said it over again. Integration was the worst thing that could ever happen to a black man in this country, because we stopped trying, we stopped striving. because we think we are accepted. No, you fools. You've just been tolerated. We need our own. We're never going to be loved. Just tolerated. This is what the book says. Why the hell you can't get that in your thick heads, man? Our biggest problem, our biggest impediment to this country is access to cash, access to collateral. And you bloody fools out there will turn around and buy Jay-Z's 300 bottle of champagne, his 300 bottle of piss. And Jay-Z would never say, hey, Oprah, hey, Dr. Dre, hey, Michael Jordan with your billions. How about us getting together and start a lending institution so that the have-nots have access to cash? See, I'm not on this racist tip. I'm still an island boy at hand. Never one day I grew up in my household. Sister, brother, uncle, grandma, grandmother, mother. Here, one derogatory term used to describe another racial group. That's how I was brought up. And I know it's not a race war. It's a war against rich versus poor. The rich is so little. Why are they winning against the masses who are poor? Brainwash education. That's all it is. All Donald Trump is selling is his whiteness. That's all you stupid poor white people have in common with him. Look and see where Donald Trump assets are. Is it in frickin' Mississippi, Alabama, Kansas, Oklahoma? Is it there? All Trump is selling is his whiteness. You stupid, stupid people. This is the reason why Dr. King was killed. Because the poor whites started to listen to his message. Dr. King was a danger to the status quo. It was okay when black people were marching with him. Once the poor whites started acknowledging him, he became a danger to the system, a danger to the status quo. He had to be removed. It's the same today. All Donald Trump has to offer you poor, stupid white folks is his whiteness. That's all. May God help us.